Hello, I'm going to describe the results of a research study in which the results have a probability of less than 1 in 100,000. As you probably know in research, one of the things you look at is what is the probability you would get those results? 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100, and the smaller the probability, the more impressive the results are. Well, here's a study in which the probability of getting the results is much less than 1 in 100,000. In fact, all the tables that I could find for determining the probability only went up to 1 in 100,000, and the value was still beyond that. So, extremely remote probability of getting those results. Now, that's not the only thing that determines how impressive the results are, but it's one of the things. And in this particular study is a variation of another study I did and I made a video about, which is the study on extraversion, where a professor of psychology, Dr. David Fink, collected the birth data and E-scores, extraversion scores, on a personality test. It's a personality test called the EPI, and one of the things that the EPI measures is how introverted or extroverted you are. And in this other video, I describe a simple Astro signature that correlates with the extraversion scores with a probability of less than 1 in 1,000. Now I'm going to show you a formula that correlates with the scores with a probability of less than 1 in 100,000. And as I mentioned, literally goes off the charts. And this new formula is a little more complex than the early one. What I did is I added 2 more things to the formula. The original formula is based on 2 things: Sun-Jupiter in 11-based harmonic aspects and Mars-Jupiter in 11-based harmonic aspects. In a minute, I'm going to show you the exact formula and all the details of it. So just hold on if you don't know what a harmonic aspect is and so on. I'll be showing you this. And I added 2 more things: Sun-Neptune in 11-based harmonic aspects and planets and houses, specifically only the 7th house. I put into the formula that if Sun, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, or Uranus is in the 7th house, so it's just the 7th house, then you will be more introverted. And if Venus and Neptune are in the 7th house, you will be more extroverted. And I tested this with the equal house system. I didn't compare it against other houses, except for whole sign houses. Whole sign houses didn't work nearly as well in this particular study. So in any case, I added these 2 additional things. Now, the first 2 things were added based on theory. I expected that they might predict extraversion, correlate with extraversion, and I explained in the other video why that is. These other 2 things, I didn't predict them. I happened to notice them while doing the research. And out of curiosity, I wanted to see if I added those to the formula, would it greatly improve the results? And wow, does it ever greatly improve the results? It sends it to this less than 1 in 100,000. So because I didn't have a theory behind this, and it's just an observation, it might just be a random event. However, I am using 11-based harmonic again, and I am using just 1 house position, just the 7th house. So it's still a fairly simple, consistent, and clear formula. The more complex the formula, the more that it looks arbitrary, and little of this aspect and a little of that aspect, and I'll put in this parallel a declination, and you start sticking these arbitrary things that don't have any system behind them. It's very unlikely that it's going to replicate in a future study. All you're really doing is finding things that just happen to show up in your data. But here we're using still a simple concept based on observations, so that if we get more data, we can test this. And if these ideas hold up again in future data, then we're really well on our way to showing that astrology actually has tangible effects. So my hypothesis at this point is that these first 2 will correlate with extraversion, and the second 2, the Sun, Neptune, and 11th harmonic, and the planets and the houses, because it's a new idea, I'm less confident in it, but I'm sharing it because of the very impressive and exciting results that we obtained that suggest that they do predict extraversion. Let me show you the Astro signature. I'm in the Series 1.3 software, and let me show it to you. we go to the research, we go to the Astro signature, that first button, and then I made the Astro signature down here. I gave it a long title for my own reference, where I'm using the Sun, Jupiter, the Mars, Jupiter, the Sun, Neptune, and the planets in the 7th house. I can customize or view the highlighted Astro signature, and there it is. This is the Astro signature. The first items are identical to the first test I did, where, the first 3 items are new. The first 3 items are the Sun, Neptune. Sun, Neptune in 11th, 22nd, and 44th harmonic, and I gave them 40 points, a little bit less than the 50 points that I give to the Sun, Neptune, to the Sun, Jupiter, and the Mars, Jupiter. So this is a list of all the items. So if we start here with the 4th item, I'll highlight it. This is the beginning of the Sun, Jupiter section, where Sun, Jupiter in an 11, 22, 44, 88, 176, or 121st harmonic is given 50 points. In the other video, I explain a little bit more about the detail of what these harmonic aspects are. And then the same exact thing for Mars, Jupiter. So it's a simple idea. These are multiples of 11 for Sun, Jupiter, and Mars, Jupiter. And what I added was the Sun, Neptune, only 11, 22, and 44. And here are the planets in the houses. Not given a lot of points. For Sun and Mars in the 7th house, I gave it minus 20. The negative means it inclines to introversion. And I'll show you how I came up with this idea. It's not from theory, it was from looking at the data. That when Sun and Mars are in the 7th house, it appears to indicate introversion, a negative score. I gave Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus less weight. Oh, it looks like I don't have Mercury in here. It wouldn't make much difference. I kept playing around with it. So I've got Sun and Mars, minus 20, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, minus 5, and Venus and Neptune, plus 5. Just adding these additional variables, the planets in the houses, and the Sun, Neptune, caused my probability to go from less than 1 in 1,000 to less than 1 in 100,000. So one of the exciting things about this research is we might be able to figure out more and more detail and eventually discover more and more variables that are associated with a particular behavior or personality trait. So that's it. You make an Astro signature. I'll just cancel out of this. And then you just run it. I click on Begin Analysis, and it will run the analysis and compare the extraversion scores, which I can click on this correlation, and I can see the extraversion scores. These are the actual extraversion scores on the test. And we cancel out of this screen. And Sirius will run through and compare the Astro signature score based on the astrology with the actual scores, and it finds that it matches incredibly well. The probability of those astrological variables correlating with the extraversion scores is much less than 1 out of 100,000. It's so low that it's basically off the charts. I mean, it's probably close to 1 in a million. They're just extremely unlikely. Now, did I just happen to find variables in the data that correlate? It's pretty hard to find any variables that are going to give you those results, and that the variables are all based on 2 things, either the 11th harmonic or the 7th house. That's it. It's a simple formula. So this looks very, very promising. Now, how did I come up with the 7th house? I came up with the 7th house in another part of the research, which I will show you. So let me go to that and show this to you. It's in this produced data for statistics. Oh no, it's in quantitative transit and natal synodic cycles. Click on the second item. And it was here. I showed this in the previous video. I don't need to show it again, where I put the ascendant here, and I put a planet like Jupiter, and I display the graph, and it tells me it might take some time to calculate it, and I put a total of 30 degrees here. I forgot to do that. Let me display it again. And look at this dip. It goes all the way down at 180 to 290 degrees. That's the seventh house using equal houses. And almost no matter what planet I do, if I do Saturn, it again, look at that incredible coincidence, dives all the way down at that same point. It's just a strange coincidence. When I do the Sun, again, it's got a few bottoms here, but again, that same one. And I'll do Mars. And look at that. It's just very weird. It keeps going to the bottom at 180 to 209, which is the seventh house using equal house system. And Venus and Neptune happen to be high. Here's Neptune. I'll display the graph. And it's just the opposite. How weird is this? I mean, I don't understand it, but it just peaks there. And then if I look at Venus, is the last one I'll do. I can also look at Mercury. It's fairly high, one of the highest. Well, just for completeness, let's look at Mercury real quick. Mercury also, it's one of the bottom points. So it's just very weird, and I was just curious. I mean, what would happen if I stuck that in the astro signature? So based on this consistent result, I decided to put it in the astro signature. So looking at that, I put it in the astro signature because I was curious just to see what would happen. And sure enough, if I run that astro signature, we will get those results. I can run it now. It takes a while to run. I just go into the astro signature, select it, click on begin analysis, and it will run through. It takes it a minute or two. I'll just let that run. And it will come up and tell us that it's extremely unlikely to get those results. Now, what I did is I added a feature to 1.3 to show the t-value, because Sirius only shows up to 0.001. And then you can take the t-value, which is going to be 4.99, and go to this website here, www.danielsopper.com, statcalc3, calc.as, blah, blah, blah. You can go there, or you can just Google t-value calculator or something, and you can feed different values into it. It goes up to 0.00001 is where it stops, and the 4.9 is even beyond that. So it goes up to, this is 1 in 100,000. So by putting the t-value in the results of Sirius, I am then able to put that into a calculator, an online calculator, and find out the probability. Because Sirius only goes up to 1 in 1,000. Once you're beyond 1 in 1,000, 1 out of 1,000, your results are so impressive that most people don't care beyond that. But I do care because astrology is something that is an extraordinary idea. There's, according to academia and modern science, it just should not work. So we need to have extraordinary evidence. So I want to go beyond the normal boundaries of 1 out of 1,000, and so I gave this ability to see this. So here are the results. The correlation is 0.16. Here it's listed as 16%, normally called 0.16. That's the Pearson correlation coefficient, is a more technical term. And see, Sirius only goes up to 0.001, and it mentions that it only tests 0.001, 01, 02, and 05. But I added this line, the t-value is 4.99. Without the additional variables, the original analysis I did with just the Sun, Jupiter, and Mars, Jupiter 11th harmonic, the t-value is 3.7. And using this online calculator, I found out that 3.7 is 1 in 3,000. So we went from a probability of 1 in 3,000 to a probability of less than 1 in 100,000 by adding those additional variables. So here I mentioned, how did I come up with the seventh house? Because in the research it showed that it was important. And in testing different pairs, I noticed Sun, Neptune in 11, 22, and 44 produce high correlation with extraversion. So you can, this is called model building. You're building models based on theory, based on observation. So these two ideas are mostly from observation rather than theory, and then we try it out and see that it looks impressive. So the conclusion. The first two sets of astrological variables, Sun, Jupiter, and Mars, Jupiter 11 based harmonics, are ones I theoretically expected to indicate extraversion. Although I did not anticipate that the 11 base harmonics would go so high. I thought they would go up to 44. They went up to 88 and 176. I didn't expect that. But when I added them in, it improved the results, made it the significance even better, and the correlation values even higher. The other two sets are not from theory, they were from observation. So this is impressive. Both astro signatures are impressive. The one based mostly on theory, less than 1 in 3,000, adding some observations from some 2 additional things to our astro signature based on observation, puts us in less than 1 in 100,000. Both formulas are fairly simple. The study is relatively easy to replicate. If the results are replicated, this will be the strongest evidence, as far as I know, that astrology can produce measurable effects. So basically what we're doing is we're moving astrology forward to a whole new level by building models, model building. Some people think that the point of astrological research is only to demonstrate that astrology works. Works means produce a measurable effect. And this is an ultimate goal. But typically, there are intermediate steps where the rigorous research does the same thing that your doing charts of friends, family, and famous people does, which we call convenience sampling. It helps build the model. So for me, research is model building. It's using information to get clearer and sharper ideas of how astrology works. And then ultimately that may lead to a clear demonstration of a measurable effect. But even as we take steps along the way, we're getting a better understanding of astrology. More evidence that this 11th harmonic and 11 base harmonics really work. New suggestion about maybe the 7th house, at least with the equal house system, maybe it works a little bit differently than we thought. So that's my final note, and I'm done, is that I think this research is important. Now, there's 2 things can happen. If we replicate the results, a huge discovery is made. What if the results are not replicated? What if we get more data, we test out, it doesn't work? Well, I think that's important too, because that would help confirm that astrology is not capable of producing effects that can be measured in quantitative research, and we would like to know that. So my view is that whether you believe in astrology or whether you're a cynic of astrology or you're somewhere in between, I think this kind of research is important because it helps determine if astrological variables can produce measurable effects, regardless of what we assume and we think we can find out. Okay, that's it. Very exciting. We don't have to wait for replication to get excited about this. We are getting to new understanding, new insights through this kind of research. Okay, thank you very, very much for listening. God bless. Namaste.